Welcome
to Valencia.
In this episode, we are going to share our first impressions of Valencia. We have been here for 2 weeks now and absolutely love this city. We'll talk about our favorite places so far, some of the experiences we have, and then some of the impressions we have about living in Valencia.
Right. The architecture is amazing here, and it's really an incredible story. I mean, this used to be the epicenter of the silk making business. And it was interesting because the way that they did it was they had silkworms breeding in the tops of buildings. And you can tell by looking at the tops of buildings in Valencia, if there is little windows up there, that's because that's where the silkworms lived.
Yeah. And yeah, the history of the city is absolutely fascinating. We did a walking tour, one of the best walking tours we've ever done in any city, anywhere.
Yeah, it was really great. And it had a really great ending we'll tell you about in a second.
Yeah. Anyway, so we learned so much about the history of Valencia and about the silk industry and what happened when the plague came, because it was a huge port and a lot of sailors coming in and out, which also made it, most interestingly,
it was the biggest brothel in Europe, and it was actually such a big business that the Pope blessed the brothel. You almost never see popes blessing brothels now.
You don't?
No. Very rare.
Anyway, but once the plague hit...
Both businesses got hit hard from the plague.
Yeah. When the plague came to Spain, it decimated the silk industry and killed all the silkworms and most of the people, honestly.
Yeah.
And it never recovered. The industry never recovered. It never became the capital of the silk industry ever again.
But this was a trade center nonetheless. I mean, they were kind of comparable with Portugal in the fact that they went out and explored, and they were invading and conquering and owning. And this is why the city and the whole country has such amazing opulent buildings, and the streets are so well done. It's a very sophisticated and mature looking city because they had so much money back then, and they really used it to live well.
The architecture is mind-blowing. So on the one hand, you've got these incredible Gothic buildings, and on the other, these just amazing modern contemporary art, really, buildings. I mean, they're just stunning. And Valencia's put a lot of energy into paying attention to architectural design here, and also creating a ton of open spaces. So they've got the Jardín de Turia, and then runs through the entire center of Valencia, this incredible park, beautiful with bike paths and extraordinary trees.
They really acknowledge and give space to nature. They really know that nature makes human beings feel better and work better and live better. And they really honor it here. And it's noticeable how different that is from other parts of the world, honestly. And, if you think about the architecture, they do some bold things here, but they're also coming off Gaudi having been such a strong influence in Barcelona and more than Madrid, right? I don't think
I like your thus.
Okay, so we're taking Spanish classes, and our Spanish teacher is from Valencia, and she gives us a lot of grief if we don't say. It's actually Valencia. And I'm just trying, and it's getting in my head. So you shouldn't make fun of me now, because I'm going to screw up and go back to what I was.
An excellent job. Anyways, so yes, the streets here are really clean. It feels very safe. Feels a lot safer than Barcelona and Madrid, for sure. It is a lot safer than both of those places.
It really is. You see, I mean, the whole vibe here is slowed down and very calm, and people even speak slower than they do in those cities, which makes it easier for us, novice Spanish speakers to be able to understand what's going on. But the whole city has a small town feel, And at night, it can be late at night. And by the way, it's always late at night because they don't eat dinner till starting at 10 o'clock at night. We've been getting done dinners at like midnight every night, which is a really hard adjustment, by the way. Our bodies are not used to this. But the point is, at midnight, everyone's out. You see women walking by themselves. You see groups of friends, and there's just no negative, sketchy vibe going on here.
No, and I'm sure there's crime, but it just feels very, very safe. It reminds me of Portugal in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were saying the streets are wide, the streets are clean. It's very, very flat. We're missing Lisbon's rolling hills and all of the exercise we got because of that.
Yeah, we could eat anything in Lisbon and it would just burn off. Here, I'm not so sure that's happening. I haven't checked. We don't have a scale
No,
with it.
it's not happening. I can promise you, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But there are also, everywhere you are, bike paths everywhere, and just everybody's riding bikes.
Yeah, this is really like Amsterdam level bike riding here. They're very pro bike, much more so than, you know, scooters and things like that. So it's really fun if you're into bike riding. But again, the only thing is it's so flat that I don't know if you really get a great workout here doing those kind of things. So you have to really make time to exercise.
But you did a bike tour that you liked.
Yeah, I did a bike tour that literally we all got on these bikes, these tourists and me being one of them. And we got on the bikes and started riding, and literally within a minute, the guy stopped and started telling us about buildings. It's like, why are we on bikes? Like, it was around the corner from his office. And it kind of went like that for the whole time until we got to that park, and then we actually got to ride for a minute.
Yeah.
It was really not a bike tour.
Yeah, I didn't go because I don't like riding bikes. I don't care. I won't apologize. Come at me. Doesn't matter.
You bike lobby out there, just don't even try. You're not going to change your mind.
Exactly right. I don't like riding bikes.
The first thing we were going to do is a tuk-tuk tour, which are those little golf cart things that they have all over Lisbon. We got here and there were no tuk-tuk tours. Then we were going to do one of those hop on, hop off, double-decker buses that you see in pretty much everywhere. And it turned out that the reviews of those were less than stellar.
They were actually the worst I've ever seen anywhere, ever. So we never bothered with it. And it hasn't mattered at all because it's such a walkable city that we just walk everywhere. And to get into the center of Valencia from Cabanyal, where we're staying right now, it's about a 45-minute walk, but it's a beautiful 45-minute walk.
Yeah, you get to see neighborhoods when you're walking. As we've said before, walking's our favorite thing in cities because you can explore. Why don't we talk about where our apartment is right now for a second?
So our apartment, the Airbnb that we rented is in Cabanyal, which is down by the port in Valencia and very, very near to incredible beaches. So we're about a maybe 15-minute walk to the beach, and the beaches are so wide and really long. You could walk for I think a day. It looks like it goes on forever, and the water is really quite warm. You can rent, lounges with the palapa cabana umbrella things, and chill out, and then there are all these great restaurants. There are still a lot of touristy, but there's some really good ones along the whole beach that you can go to for tapas.
So this one tapas place, Cheryl decided that she needed to use the bathroom at one point. We were walking home from the beach, and she said, "I'm just going to go in there and use the bathroom," because we had eaten there the day before. Normally, you could do that. She walked in, and I didn't hear from her again. And then all of a sudden I get a text. It's like, "I'm sitting down, come here." They made me sit down. So she did the thing that we all do. "Oh, I'm just gonna use the bathroom and then I'll sit down." They were like, "Okay, sit down." So that bathroom break was about $35. Yeah. Yeah. It was good food though. And we were kind of hungry, but be careful using the bathroom in restaurants.
They frown upon it.
Yeah, they're onto it. They're onto us, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting around, public transit is fantastic here. There are buses. There's a bus stop right in front of our apartment. There are buses. There's the metro. It's so simple and clean and easy and very affordable to get around. So we're still mastering that. We've been using, unfortunately, Cabify too often, which is the Spanish equivalent of Uber.
Yeah.
Which is it's definitely more expensive than it is in Lisbon, for sure, than Uber is. Yeah, so
that one thing is more expensive. Most things are less expensive, but that one is more.
We should only be using public transportation at this point, and so we're kind of holding ourselves to that starting today, right?
Starting today.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
We're saying it here. But the thing is, the Cabifys, the reason why it's really easy to let that go is because they take a long time to show up. They're not really, it's not like Uber.
Right.
It's really not. And so, yeah, but between walking and the public transportation, it's covered.
So some of the activities that we've done so far, we talked about having pre-booked some activities, and we have done that, and I'm really glad we did because we've had some great experiences.
Talk about the caves.
Yeah, so our first thing that we did was we went to the Cuevas de San Jose, which are about maybe a 30-40 minute drive from here. Amazing. They're the biggest underwater river. Underwater river. That doesn't make sense.
All rivers are underwater. No, wait, hold on. Rivers aren't underwater because they are water.
Right.
Okay,
That's right.
so-
It doesn't make sense. It's the biggest underground river.
It's the biggest conundrum in vocabulary history. I'm not really sure what we're saying.
It's the biggest underground river
Yes.
in Europe, at
Yeah.
least, maybe.
And it's fresh water, and it really is amazing.
Yeah.
And so we'll put some pictures here because honestly, the video was really great because it just looked amazing. And they put concerts on in there, and they did not have a concert the day that we went, but they did have some music they pumped it. Music light show thing to get the effect. So you can tell the acoustics are great. Anyway, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then my favorite thing that we referenced earlier was the walking tour, and we learned so much. I'll put the link to the one that we went on because cannot recommend it enough, can't recommend this company enough.
Yeah, our guide was a young Irish woman who was really fun, really energetic, and it honestly entertained us the whole time, and had a lot of knowledge about things that other people, since we were on that tour, don't seem to know a lot of what she told us. So, I mean, I think she has some unique knowledge. But the best part was at the very end, she said, we're gonna go back to our place and we'll have like a wine tasting and a couple of tapas. And you know, that's usually really bad food. And it's usually just not a great scene. So we kind of rolled our eyes and went. And when we got there, it was this gorgeous place.
Yep. So we started in a garden and they brought out cava. And all of the wine we had was fantastic. And it was a 10-course tapas meal. And all
10 courses.
Really interesting and different than anything we have ever had here. And just, overall the food quality was so good. And we were with this large group of women, of Dutch women. They didn't even know each other, or they were in separate groups, who were an absolute hoot. And
We couldn't understand them.
them. They seemed fun.
No, they actually got communicative with us because they realized they were leaving us out of the conversation.
They were wonderful.
Yeah.
And then we moved inside to this beautiful dining room and continued the tapas tasting and wine tasting, and every wine was better than the last one.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, I'm sorry I didn't get B-roll of this because we kept eating everything, and so I just didn't get many pictures. But the tapas were amazing, the wine was amazing, and then we got to know these women, and it was really sweet. And then we all went out after.
We were having so much fun, and we didn't want it to end. So all of us decided we were going to go out and try to find someplace else to go have agua de Valencia, which is like a Long Island iced tea.
Yeah.
Really happy we didn't find that.
Everybody says don't drink it because it's really gonna mess you up. And so we weren't gonna drink it, but they wanted to. I wasn't gonna drink that. But they wanted to, and so that was the goal. Okay, that was the mission when we left. By the way, this is after 10 courses of tapas and all this wine. So is it anything that would have had a good ending to it? No.
No. I'm glad we didn't find it. Anyway, there were too many of us. There were 14 of us to go sit together anywhere, and we were wandering down the streets, and we saw this man just shutting down his bar / disco, because nobody was in there.
Because it was a dive.
It was a dive bar.
Absolute dive.
It was, but it had a disco ball, which I did like. Anyway, he called us in. We took it over, got behind the bar, played DJ.
What bar owner lets you behind the bar and lets you DJ and pour your own wine or whatever and dance? It was actually really fun.
It was a blast.
We took over the whole place. It was really fun, and it was what, me and 14 women, and the one guy who owned the place. So we were all feeling like this is cool. And we did it for a short time. We had one drink there, and then we kind of called it a night. And then when we left there, we walked around the corner, and there was this whole scene happening, a festival at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, it was 11:30 at night.
Was it 11:30?
It was 11:30 at night.
Wow, there was a lot of people out. Like it was like could have been the
And there were
7 o'clock.
people in this plaza. It was the weekend of the festival
The Virgin.
de la Virgen. And
She's doing better in Spanish class than I am.
anyway, and they had, probably 100 people, maybe more, dressed in traditional Spanish costume, dancing, and they had a live band performing in front of the church, and then dancing in this huge plaza, and it was a magical experience.
It really was. And they do this kind of thing all the time. They're
All the time.
super into festivals. There's one this weekend, or all weekend this weekend, and they have them, I think there's another one next weekend. They're very into festivals, and it's really fun because everyone gets into it. Like, everybody that lives here is 100% gung-ho for that festival that day, whatever it is.
In sharp contrast to that tapas and wine tasting experience, we went to another one at the oldest wine cellars, the caves in Valencia.
This was disaster from the start. And I actually posted on Instagram about this, so I'm going to repeat myself, but it was so bad. How bad was it? It was so bad that none of the wine was drinkable. Literally none of the wine was drinkable. They lost the keys. They couldn't get into the building in the beginning. They couldn't unlock the food. So they ran out to some convenience store and they got paper plates with a couple of triangles of cheese, and they had some
Melba toast with chopped. They opened a can of anchovies or sardines and chopped them up on the spot and just threw them on top of the Melba toast.
And they did it right over there, so we knew. And there was a bag from the grocery store. Like, the whole scene was, and the light was bright. It was just really, really terrible.
It was a drag. But the funniest thing happened.
Yeah, so the woman who was actually pouring the wine was trying to do a good job and cover for all the horrible things that were happening. So she was pouring the wine, and she would say, okay, now, swirl it, smell it, sniff it. Okay, now swirl it in the glass. Now look at the color. And she did this whole thing as if we were in some really high-end, vineyard. And then she said, so smell it. And the first wine was this white wine, and she said, smell it. And I smelled it. And I was like, oh my God, this smells really bad. It smelled like a wet dog, like literally like a wet dog, like dog hair. And so I just put it down. I pushed it away. And then she went around to everybody else. She said, well, smell it. What do you think it smells like? What do you think it smells like? And everyone was like kind of not saying anything because I'm sure they were thinking what I was thinking. But this one guy who was just far enough away in this loud room that I couldn't understand everything he was saying perfectly, and he had a strong southern accent. She said, what do you think it smells like? And he said, pear. And I said, yeah, it does smell like hair. And the woman stopped what she was doing and looked at me, and there was this really awkward moment. And then everything kind of went downhill from there. Pretty soon after, they went down and did a tour with some of the people that only spoke Spanish, and we sort of bowed out and went somewhere else.
Anyway, it was sharp contrast, but also a great experience and an excellent story that we got out of it. So we'll be using that one for years.
Yes, hair of the dog.
Exactly. What else? So the food here has been incredible.
Other than those sardines on the bread, the food has been great.
Yeah, the food's been incredible, really fresh, really affordable. We've gone to the Mercat Central, which is the biggest market, indoor market in Europe.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's beautiful, and it's fresh everything.
Fresh fish, fresh. If you want fish, you have to go early in the morning though. But fresh fish, fresh meat, incredible produce, and we've just loved everything we got there. We've also gone to the market in the Mercat in Ruzafa, which is an area in downtown Valencia that I think most of the expats live in.
Yeah, we're actually going to go explore that area because it seems like a lot of people who are in our situation have kind of gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
Even though we do love being out by the water, and I bet you in the summer this is like golden to be out here, but we're going to go check this area out.
Yeah. We've been in Ruzafa a fair amount.
I mean, check it out like as if we were
formally check it out like we're going to live there, yeah. But in the farmers market, or in that market in Ruzafa, we found a Mexican food stall, not Mexican food, but spices and ingredients to make Mexican food, because the Mexican food here that we've had has not been good. It seems that people in Spain don't really like spicy food, so it's really difficult for the Mexican restaurants to create authentic Mexican food.
And I thought that was interesting that people in Spain don't like spicy food. I just would assume they would.
Anyway, overall, The markets have been fabulous. Shopping has been interesting. We found some great little boutiques. We were beyond excited. For those of you, I'm sure we have mentioned in our previous Lisbon videos how very much we love El Corte Inglés. Really love El Corte Inglés.
They should sponsor us, honestly, because we really love them.
We love
I don't think they really need to sponsor us, but yeah, they're really great. They should.
Anyway, so the one in Lisbon is exceptional, and we were so excited to find that there's one 15 minutes walking distance from us. There are 4 here in Valencia.
These things are like 5 or 6 stories at least.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're huge.
They're huge. So we were so thrilled, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that the very first thing we did when we left our bags in our apartment was walk to Corte Inglés.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is embarrassing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But we were a little disappointed. It's still nice, and you can still find kind of anything you want there, but they're missing the whole top floor with all of the fabulous restaurants and bars.
So just so you know, we've evolved away from Corte Inglés. We haven't really been going there much since we had this realization that it was substandard to the one in Lisbon.
We went to all of them. We spent an inordinate amount of time like checking out the El Corte Inglés in Valencia.
I really can't even explain why we did that, but it was something we needed to check out. And you got to follow your bliss.
Anyway, we've also done the City of Arts and Sciences, which we'll put photos. It's mind-blowing, incredible.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, just huge science museum, art installations, art museum, concert hall that has all kinds of performances. We haven't been to one yet, but we will.
They keep these all these huge structures that they do that are very, very massive because they give a lot of room for the art. It's not like just an efficient building. And they keep them extraordinarily clean. They keep their parks extraordinarily clean. We noticed that none of the trees had carvings in them or anything like that you would normally see like in New York or whatever. They really seem to have this relationship with nature and art that's wonderful. Like it's very, very respectful. And I love that about this place.
So we've met a fair number of expats now. As we said, we were going to kind of immerse ourselves in that community, and especially through Spanish classes, have met a lot of expats and gotten so much good information about different areas to live in and tax schemes and, what to do here versus we understand how to navigate the tax laws in Portugal, but Spain is a different animal.
Yeah.
And so we're still in the midst of that. When we kind of get that dialed in, we'll absolutely share it. But we've gotten so much information just about day to day and, where to find the Mexican markets. And we've met so many interesting people, and we've met some locals, not a lot yet, but we're working on that. And I think once our Spanish is better, that'll get a lot easier.
Yeah.
But we're also going to an incredible Spanish school, and I'll link that below, because even though it's really challenging, my first day in my class, we learned about the different political parties in Spain, which was fascinating. And then had to create our own campaign defending one of the political parties in the Spanish, which was scary, but did it. And
I mean, that's a really big deal that she did that. I can't even believe they did that. I'm in a different class, as you might have guessed, and I did not do that. But that sounds like really advanced. But what a great way to learn a language is to jump in and have those kind of conversations, as opposed to kind of cappuccino, which was the extent of what we were doing before that.
But it's been so much fun, and because they've made it a lot of fun. So
yeah, they are good, and you should put the link in.
I will, because highly recommend this Spanish school. Even if you're here for a month like us, it's worth it, I think, because we've already in 2 weeks really learned a lot and are having, a lot of conversations pretty much every day, trying to speak only in Spanish. So
we were a little concerned that the Spanish would be so different than the Spanish that we had learned in the past, that we were a little nervous about that, because Valencia has its own Spanish, and Castilian Spanish is different than Catalan Spanish. So anyway, we were just a little worried about how this was going to land, but it actually has been pretty painless, and it's relieving, because we could see that you could integrate into this society fairly easily, and it wasn't going to be as much of a challenge as we thought it was going to be.
Not as difficult as Portugal.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
So yes, Castilian Spanish does seem to be easier to understand. Certainly, it's not Catalan. And signs everywhere, government signs anywhere are in Catalan and Valenciano. We have not learned any Valenciano, but we haven't really needed to. Everybody speaks. We had one hostile taxi driver who insisted on speaking in Valenciano and not acknowledging us. But
Yeah, you always get those.
you get one person out of everybody we've met who's been as lovely
Yeah,
can be.
they're very, very nice here. We were not expecting to be as warm and friendly as they are. And that was the thing about Portugal that we loved so much, is how friendly everybody was and how forgiving about not knowing Portuguese that they were. They're not that far off here.
No, very, very kind, very, very generous about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so overall, loving Valencia. Not sure how we feel about Valencia versus Lisbon. I think we'll do probably an episode on that.
Yeah.
But really just can't wait to continue to explore. We've got some great expeditions kind of planned for this coming week. This coming weekend, we're going to this village, Balneario de Archera, which is, they have a lot of resorts with thermal hot springs, and that should be fun.
We'll check that out.
Yeah, so excited all the way around.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.